Today we are going to start Kubernetes cluster on AWS using Kops method. Okay, Kops means Kubernetes operations. So it is supported on AWS and GCP for Azure and other cloud providers, other like DigitalOcean. So there is a beta version. And on AWS and GCP, it is officially supported. So what is the Kops feature? So let's see the feature. So what we can achieve using the Kops. So it is like an automation method. So automatic automation method or automatic provisioning of cluster, or it creates the VPC in the background. So we can say that subnet, yes, security group, then NAT, then IG. So here we don't have to create VPC, subnet, security group, NAT gateway, internet gateway, everything it takes care. Okay. So it is like automation method, automatic provisioning, and inbuilt auto scaling. So inbuilt auto scaling feature. Then it uses the Bastion host or HSS tunnel.
So just all these features will not available in the Kubernetes ADM?
Yes.
It is available or not available?
It is available.
In ADM also?
KubeADM also. But in Kops, in KubeADM method, we have to create a manually. We have to create a manually VPC. Yesterday, we have used default VPC, but in the real-time scenario, there should be VPC should be ready. Separate VPC should be ready. Then manually we have to set up the auto scaling and all the required things. So that feature comes with the Kops and EKSCTL feature. So first method, we are going to cover this Kops method, which has all the features. Or in a company or in a production environment, we can use this method. So it is a strong Kubernetes cluster. So let's see the prerequisite. So what prerequisite we need? As we say that it support only on the cloud environments. So AWS account. But in KubeADM method, we can set up anywhere, VMware, our data bare metal server, our data center. But this Kops and EKS, it supports only on the AWS, and Kops also supports on the GCP, AWS account. Then I am user with permission. Then domain name and hosted zone. Why? To access the Kubernetes API publicly. Then we need a S3 bucket to store 8 Kubernetes states. Okay. So for every changes, the state it maintains. So it contains the certificates and configuration. Okay. So in Kubernetes, we have the inbuilt etcd database, but it store only the current configuration of data. It does not store the states and other logs. So that will be stored in the S3 bucket. So in the real-time scenario, we use this S3 bucket. So this all about the Kubernetes Kops method. So let's start to set up the Kops method in AWS. Also, you can visit official Kubernetes site and you can check the features. So let's visit the official Kubernetes site. Here we can check that it is officially supported this Kops method. So here we can see that fully automation installation uses DNS to identify clusters, self-healing, everything runs in auto-scaling group. It creates one group. In an EKS also, we have the group. In Kops also, we have the auto-scaling group. Also, it supports the multiple OS supports like Ubuntu, CentOS, Amazon Linux, and Core OS, or it has the HA support, high availability, then can directly provisioning and generate Terraform manifest also that we are going to cover in Terraform. So what is the requirement? So you must have the kubectl, then Kops package. Like yesterday we have seen kubectl package. Here we have to install the Kops feature. Then we have need AWS account, IAM keys and configure. So here are some instructions that I have already copied. So then we need a Route53 domain and hosted zone. So Kops uses DNS for discovery, both inside cluster and outside, so that you can reach the Kubernetes API server from the clients. Also, this API server we can add in continuous integration server like Jenkins, GitLab. Then, so Kops has a strong opening on the cluster name. It should be valid DNS name. So by doing so, you will be no longer get your cluster confused. So you can share a cluster with your colleagues, okay, and you can reach them without relying on remembering the IP address. So that we need a DNS. So like these are the example that we can give the example. Then we need a S3 bucket to store the cluster state. So all the state are stored in the S3 bucket. So here are some example to create a bucket. So here are some sample command. So all the command I have copied in my notepad. So let's start to set up the Kops cluster on AWS. So in the real time, we use the domain. So here I have purchased one domain on GoDaddy. So for practice, if you don't have the domain, so no problem. You can create a cluster in the private hosted zone that requires no domain name. So here I am showing you how in a company or in a project, how we can set up the Kops cluster with the domain name. So I have purchased GoDaddy domain name .fasttechnics.info. So that will charge only 300 rupees. You can also purchase. AWS also provides the domain name, but it charges more, like $15. So if you want to practice real time, or if you want to see, or in the next session, we are going to expose our microservice over the internet using the domain name. So that time also we need a domain name. So for that purpose, I have purchased a domain name in GoDaddy. So let's start. So as per official documentation of the Kubernetes, so for the Kops method, we need a one management node that act as a SSH tunnel or bastion host. So we, in the real time scenario, we should not directly connect with the master nodes. That's why we need a management. So we can connect from the that management node. So let's create a one management node that you can call it as a tunnel or bastion host. Or in the real time scenario, all our servers will be in a private subnet. Only the mention the port like ATN 443 and SS tunnel will be in the public, all will be private, and all instance we should access using the SSH tunnel. That is a standard practice for any projects. So let's create a one SSH tunnel in AWS. So here I am selecting the Ubuntu 20. So let's select it. Here free tier is enough for our practice. So in the real time scenario also, this also enough free tier which act as a tunnel. So let's select T2 micro, then click on configure instance. Let's select the default VPC, then add the storage. So here I'm adding the 15 GB storage, then click on add. These are the optional, then configure security. So yesterday I helped you, some of you students, for their QVADM setup. So everyone is selecting, I have seen that everyone is selecting creating new security group. So it will get charged for you. So my recommended is to select select an existing group, because AWS provides already one default security group, and you should use that because you are practicing for now. So while creating configure security group, select an existing security group. By default, this radio button will be out. So you have to select this. Then click on default security group. Here I have opened the port, but for now we don't have to, just we need a 22 port. So click on review and launch, then click on launch. So select the key pair. So here I am selecting the key pair, then click on launch instance. Then click on view instance. So instance will be ready in few seconds. Copy the public IP address. I'm logging to using the putty. Select the key pair. Default username is Ubuntu. Let me increase the font size. Let's update the system packages. So here I have copied all the instructions from the Kubernetes official site. So first requirement is that we have to interact with the AWS accounts. So for that, using the CLI, we have to install the AWS CLI package on that management node. So here I have copied this command from the AWS official site to install the AWS CLI on Ubuntu instance. So let's download the AWS CLI using the curl. So latest version is 2. Let's unzip this package. So it is saying that we don't have the unzip package. So let's install the unzip package. Then again unzip the AWS CLI setup. Then let's install the AWS CLI. Okay, now you can check the AWS CLI version using this command. Then you can check this latest version is 2.2. Then next is the we have to install the kubectl because it is a command line interface for the Kubernetes. So same, let's download this kubectl on the Ubuntu. Then change the executable permission to the kubectl setup. Then configure the AWS CLI in user local bin. This is the second step. Third, we have to install the Kops package. Like kubeadm, we have installed the kubeadm package. Here we need a Kops package. So this instruction I have copied from the official site. The same as we have to give the executable permission to the Kops setup. Then configure the Kops. Then fourth step is creating domain and hosted zone in AWS. So our domain is on GoDaddy. We have to create a hosted zone in AWS. To create a hosted zone in AWS, we have to go to the log into the AWS and search for Route53. This we can use for multiple purposes. So like registering a domain name, then creating hosted zone, then geolocation. So it supports the traffic management, availability monitoring, domain registration, and hosted zone. So for now, we need only hosted zone. So click on hosted zone. So here I have already created hosted zone. Let's delete this existing one. And let's create a new. So click on create hosted zone. And my domain name is fosttechnics. This is my main domain, parent domain. And I'm giving the cluster name is K8s. So K8s giving the domain name dot. My parent domain name is fosttechnics.info. So if you don't have the domain name, you can select this private hosted zone. So here I have already domain name. That's why I am selecting the public hosted zone. But if you want to practice, then you can run your Kops cluster using this private hosted zone. So let's select public hosted zone and click on create hosted zone. So then it generates the NS record and SOA record. Sort of this SOA means sort of authority and NS means name server. So this we don't need for now, or later we don't need this anymore. So we need this NS record. We have to copy this NS record for NS record, and we have to go to the in GoDaddy. If you purchase domain name in Route 53, then we don't need. So our domain name purchase in GoDaddy. So that's what we have to copy this name server, AWS name server, that we have to point it to the domain name provider. So we can access our Kubernetes API server publicly. Okay, in the real-time scenario, this API server, we have to add in a Jenkins and GitLab or other continuous integration server. So here, go to the DNS management section of this domain name, then click on here add, then select the record type NS name server, and my host name is KTS. Means how the host name works. So let's select, suppose Yahoo site is there. For India, they have the in.yahoo.com, but their main domain is yahoo.com. In India, they are using the IN. In US, they are using the US. One more example, like LinkedIn. So in India, they are using the in.linkedin.com. So in US, they are using the us.linkedin.com, like this. So for this cluster name, our cluster domain is KTS. Then we have to copy this name server. And here detail we have to select man. Though we don't need this, we have to resolve this our name server in the less time. So we have to set the detail in custom and select the 1 minute and click on save. And same again we have to repeat for the other name server. So let's copy this name server and point as a name server KTS and same detail. So we have completed the first step, selecting domain and a hosted zone in AWS. So fifth step is create and configure IAM user in AWS. So we need an IAM user to access AWS resource. So let's create IAM user and configure. To create IAM user, search here IAM. Then you will be redirected to the IAM dashboard. So left side, we have the option users. Let's create a one new user. Click on add user. I'm giving the username Kops. For now, we need only the programmatic access. So let's select this programmatic access and click on permission. Then we have to attach the policies. So here we need a policy. So like S3 EC2 Route 53 VPC, because as we have seen that it is an automatic creation of VPC and all the security group, NAT gateway, then load balancer, all these things. So we need this permission, S3 full access, EC2 full access, Route 53, IAM, and Amazon VPC full access, because he's going to interact and create automatically. So let's attach policy. So here select third option, attach existing policies directly. So let's give the admin access. Then we have to give the S3. Then we have to give the EC2, because he's going to create a EC2 instance for us. Then EC2 full access. Then Kops will interact with the Route53. So let's give the Route53 full access. Then IAM full access. Then we have given the S3, EC2, Route53, IAM, then VPC. And click on next tags. So this is optional. So click on review. So let's verify that the correct permission are applied. S3, EC2, Route53, IAM, then VPC. Then we have also given the admin access. Then click on create user. Let's copy this all the access key and secret access key. Click on download CV. This is a one time. So again, we can't download this. So download this all the user details. So let's save in desktop. I'm giving the name Kops. Then click on close. So we have created one user and attached the policies. So we have completed this fifth, sixth, and so we have to configure the IAM user in that management node. To configure the IAM user in on the Ubuntu instance, command is AWS configure. We already installed the AWS CLI. Let's run this AWS configure. It will ask for the AWS access key. So let's copy the access key from this Excel of CSV. This is our access key. Then secret access key. Let's copy this secret access key. Then our region is, we have to select which region you are going to use. So we are going to use AP South 1. That is Mumbai location. AP-South-1. And by default output format is JSON. So here we don't want to change. So click on enter. So we have configured the AWS user on the AWS CLI using the AWS CLI. Next, we have to create a S3 bucket. To create S3 bucket, so here I am creating from the console. Click on S3 bucket. Okay, let's delete the existing bucket. I am giving the same name for not confusion. So first we have to empty this bucket. And then we have to delete. Let's give the bucket name. So let's create a new bucket. To create a new bucket, click on create bucket. Give the same name, then select the region. So across all the For AWS resource, we are using the AP South one. Then we have to enable the versioning, bucket versioning, to store all the versions of the Kubernetes states. So click on enable, then leave it all other properties, means all the configuration, and click on create bucket. So our bucket is ready in AP South 1 region. Then to store the states of the Kops cluster, we have to tell to cluster that bucket name. To export this, command is export Kops state store equal to bucket name. So this will start storing all the states. We have to tell to the Kops cluster. Then we have to create SSH keygen. So why this? If you want to access the master node from this management node or this tunnel, so we have to generate the keygen. So using public key, you can connect to the master node from the management node. So let's generate the key pair using the ssh-keygen command. So keep it default location, enter. Then ninth step is to set up the Kubernetes Kops cluster on AWS using Kops. So command is, so yesterday we have seen that to initialize the cluster kubeadm init, and in Kops cluster, command is Kops create cluster. Here we have to give the parameter. So first parameter is cloud equal to AWS. If you are setting cluster in Azure or any other cloud provider, GCP, there we have to give their cloud provider. Then second parameter is zone. So in which zone you are going to set up Kops cluster. So for now, AP South 1A, but in the real time scenario, we have to give at least 3 zone. Means minimum is a 2. So, but in the real time scenario, we'll give the 3. So AP South 1A. Then we have to select the networking plugin. So yesterday we have installed the View plugin. So for this cluster, we are going to install Calico plugin. So networking Calico. Then we have to give the name of our Kops cluster name. So for the standard practice is, we should give the name of whatever we have created the hosted zone. That name we should give. So name is ktsfosttechnics.info. Then we have to select the DNS zone, means whatever our hosted zone, that we have to give the name. So let's keep same name for the name and DNS zone. Then DNS is public, because these Kops clusters will be accessing publicly, okay, using the API server. So if you don't have the DNS name, here you can select the private. So here I am selecting the public because we have the domain name. So let's copy this command and run on the Ubuntu instance.
If we have another zone, we can give hyphen zone equal to another zone name, right? In the same command line.
Same command, AP South 1A, comma, AP South 1B, comma, AP South 1C, like this.
Okay.
So first it will check all the prerequisite. If it matches or it has all the permission. So here you can see that it's automatic create the one VPC. So he created security group, then he creating the VPC, name is given and also it create all the rules, all the ports he open in the background. So all information it shows before creating it. So we will check after creating cluster all this information. So it is saying that cluster configuration has been created. you have to apply the hyphen s to apply the changes. And here command is given. So here instruction is given, finally configure your cluster with this command. So let's copy this command, paste in notepad. So here it is showing the finally configure your cluster with Kops update cluster name, and parameters is hyphen s and hyphen admin. So let's copy this command. Let's apply this command to finally create a Kops cluster. So in the background, it creating the certificates. It will store in the S3. Then it is creating the auto scaling group. As we have seen that it has the inbuilt auto scaling group. So auto scaling group for master, auto scaling group for the worker node and master node. So background, it creates all the required things. Then we have to wait for some few minutes. Then you have to run this command after 10 minutes. We have to wait 10 minutes. Yesterday we have seen that it should, we have to wait for 4 minutes. Here we have to wait for 10 minutes. And for the EKS cluster, we have to wait for the 15 to 20 minutes. So that we have to keep in mind. So let's go to the AWS console. We will see whether it is creating all the VPC or not. So let's select the VPC. And here you can see that we don't need create a VPC. So it taking care everything. He created the VPC in the background on the cluster name, then created all the subnets on the cluster name, AP South 1. This is our cluster name. Then it assigned the one IP range. Then it created the route tables. Okay, added the subnet into it. Here we can check that he added this CIDR range of VPC. Then he created the route table, then added in the internet gateway. So in other method, in kubeadm method, we have to configure everything, route tables, internet gateway, subnets, all these things. But in Kops method, it takes care everything in the background. So here also he creates security groups using the cluster name. It created the master security group, node security group, and default security group. Then we can check that he created the master for, he opened all the required port and added the security group. He opened only the 22 port and 443 port to the public only. All reside in the pub security. So all traffic into go to this master security group, all these things. So same for nodes also. So in the background, he set up all the required things like mentioned in the Kubernetes official guide, fully automation installation with the auto scaling group. Then we can find our Kops cluster configuration in a home directory. Run the command ls-e-a to show the hidden files. Let's go to the .kube directory. Here it generates the config file. Let's open this config file. So it generated the certificate client, certificate authority data, then cluster name, API version, as I said that it generates this API server. This is the Kubernetes Kops API server that we have to use in the letter. We can use to access the publicly our Kops cluster. We need this API server. Also, in the real-time scenario, if you want to add the Kubernetes cluster detail in the Jenkins or the in GitLab, we need a 4 parameters like a server, name of a cluster, then client certificate data, then sometime we need client key data and token also. That information we have to copy from this config file. Then as per the official documentation, it is said that it create the group, auto scaling group. Okay. So how we can view the auto scaling group? To check the auto scaling group in the Kops cluster, command is kops get instance groups. Okay. It's created the instance group for the master as well as the node. Our short form command is kops get ig. To enable the here you can see that minimum is a 1 and maximum is a 1. So in the real-time scenario, we use the this multiple zone AP South 1 BC ABC. Then we can use this minimum and maximum. So here, so one master node is enough. So but in node we should add maximum count. To edit this node count, we have to do this kops edit id, then give the name of your worker node instance group. So here you can edit this. So in the later in the auto scaling concept we are going to cover, just we have to add one or two lines to enable the auto scaling on the AWS, or without taking the downtime in the real-time scenario. If you want to change the master or worker node instance type T3 medium to T4 large or C4 family, you can change it from here without taking the downtime T3 medium. Then you will select here, we will select here maximum size like 10. Okay. So to apply these changes, we have to apply this zone or this one. So for now, let's keep one. You can change it like this: minimum equal to 1 and maximum equal to 10 or 5, depending upon your project requirement. So whenever the load increases, it goes to the up to the 10 worker node, or you can add here multiple zone like we do in the real-time scenario. So that we'll be covering in the auto scaling group in the later session. Let's exit from here. So this is the auto scaling group for the Kops cluster. So let's check whether our Kops cluster is ready or not. Command is Kops validate cluster. So here you can check that cluster is ready and role is master, role is node, minimum and maximum. Then status is ready. Also you can describe, kubectl describe you can describe your master and worker node. So all the information you will get here. So it is a control plane and master node using the T3 medium, region, instance group, then status, network is available, then capacity, how much CPU, how much volume is attached, all these things you can check here. So how much it utilization, so by describing the command. Okay, also we have seen that Kubernetes has self-healing feature. So let's try. So by accidentally you delete this cluster or something is happen and one node is goes down. So let's see what happen if we delete the worker node. So let's delete this node by accidentally or some reason is terminated. So let's terminate this instance and we will see what happen. Okay, so I terminated this instance. Let's watch. So it create the new instance. So like we can see that Kubernetes has self-healing feature. It's get applied for the pod and nodes also in pod level also. If one pod fails, another pod will come. Same like in a for nodes also. Let's check the node. Command is kubectl get nodes. Okay, is in not ready state because we have terminated. So it will spin up the new node. Let's check. Then if you want to delete the Kops cluster, don't delete directly master and worker node by using terminate. Okay. So delete the Kops cluster, you have to run this command. Kops delete cluster. If you delete from here, again it will create again clusters, means nodes. So it is taking time. So let's see. Okay, it got deleted. Sorry, shutting down, still shutting down.
If we delete master also, it will come automatically. See this?
Yes. So here you can see that new node is spin. Okay, it's created pending. Okay, that's we call it as a self-filling. So our edge cluster is ready with the new node. So it will be ready in few minutes here. So that's all about the creating the Kubernetes cluster on AWS Kops method. So next, before terminate from this directly from here, it will create again. Okay, and you will get charged. So that's why to delete this cluster, command is kops delete cluster name -s parameter. So it will delete the all the clusters